Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the Builders Show, the show where we build builders. And I want to jump in to today's topic that is very hot right now. People have a lot of opinions about it, and we're going to jump right in. So, we see a lot of people talking about labor shortages. We hear that we don't have enough electricians, plumbers, HVAC techs, and that we need thousands and thousands and thousands of skilled trade workers. So the common thing we hear is we have labor shortages, but we want to argue that this is much deeper than just a shortage. The fact that more apprentices are leaving than staying seems to be the root cause of the so-called labor shortage. And so we want to talk a little bit about that today. Will, what are your initial thoughts about that?
I feel like online we're hearing a lot of people have the same conversations. They're saying either the pay isn't good enough, they can start a job at Target, at Walmart, anywhere else for $20 an hour. So why would I jump into the trades for 15 or minimum wage? And in and itself, I feel like that's a good argument to have. But I feel like the same thing applies on the other foot, because then you have the boomers saying this next generation doesn't want to work, that they're lazier. So I think if we have this conversation, we're going to weave through and start to figure out what each side wants and then ask the next follow-up question. Like, for example, online right now, people are saying, well, you're not paying enough. So I asked them, how much money do you want? And they're saying 50 an hour. You understand, outside of electrical, any other job, are they going to find a job starting off at 50? It's very likely than not, right?
Mm-mm.
So it's almost like, do we have to shape their mindset, show them the roadmap of what's possible, expectations versus the reality of day to day? I don't know. It's just so many different things out there, because I doubt, and I don't want to group Gen Z as just they don't want to work. I definitely think they have opportunities to grow. There's easier ways to make money. And if they don't need to put up with something that's been going downhill, has issues for the last few years, I think it merits a conversation at least to, hey, what's going on?
Sure. Oh, you're having a bad echo for some reason. Oh, it's gone now. Yeah. So the only way you're going to make $50 an hour or more is if you're in sales coming right out of the bat. If you're like an awesome salesman for a company and you're going to start making commission, I guess if you broke that down into some kind of hourly rate, you might make that. But other than that, you're not going to be making that much right out of the gate. But we have people online saying that electricians are going to make millions. And I think there needs to be some more clarification or context, because we have 16, 17, 18-year-olds hearing that. And then they get into the skilled trades and their first job and they're making like 20 something dollars an hour starting out. And they feel like they're getting ripped off or they're getting shorted because someone told me I'm supposed to make $1 million, as an electrician. And so I think that there's misunderstandings, there's lack of communication. There are some Gen Zs out there that are probably lazy, just like you can find lazy people in any generation. And I think there's just a huge disconnect between the boomers and Gen Z, or the boomers and the generation we're in. I think we're millennials. I'm millennial at least. But this is a cultural fight, a cultural tension that we have going on, I would argue, because anyone can say, oh, that's not enough money or it doesn't pay enough. That seems more subjective and superficial and surface level, because who is really to say how much is enough, right? I think we can all agree on like a baseline. We can agree that a certain amount is probably poverty, right? But at some point, it's like, okay, does the 18-year-old have a legitimate case about not getting paid enough? Or is it because they are trying to keep up with the Joneses and have a boat and have a house and have all these really nice things right out of the gate? And so that's kind of the audience that we've been engaging with, is trying to figure out what exactly is going on. And there's multiple different things going on, but one of the major things that we see is the younger generation, so anywhere like from 17, 18 years old all the way through probably the late 20s, is complaining about the quote unquote boomers, the older generation, giving them a hard time and telling them they need to work harder and work harder. And also, we live in a time that is much different from maybe 40 or 50 years ago. So when you compile all those things together, it seems like society's working against Gen Z. But instead of complaining and complaining about this and that, we have to break down these barriers and see, okay, why are apprentices leaving? Because on one hand, we have apprentices that are on a waiting list with, for example, union shops trying to get into their job. And then once they get in, 50% are leaving. That's what we find online. So, Will, what are your thoughts about all those things?
I think there's so many different pieces to consider. Well, like you touched on, I think it all starts by understanding or asking yourself, what do you want? For example, if you're an electrician, what does that look like for you? How much do you honestly want to make? Some may say 15 an hour, 20 an hour, 30 an hour, 50 an hour. Now, let me ask you, do you have the experience needed for that pay? And I genuinely want you to think about that, because you're going to see union shops, you're going to see merit shops, you're going to see prevailing wage jobs, you're going to see electricians are the next millionaires. You're going to see that there's money out there. But at the end of the day, what's required to make that type of money? Are you the person that you need to be to make that type of money? Are you a journeyman? Are you licensed? Have you gone through schooling? Do you have the credits? Or are you coming into electrical day one, green, wet behind the ears, and saying, where's my 50 an hour? Where's my $1 million? So I think that's why everybody has to start asking themselves, genuinely, what do you want? Because that's what the trade can provide for you. But then follow up with, what do I have to do to earn that money? Or what do I have to do to get that money? And guess what? It comes with apprenticeship training, it comes with schooling, it comes with years in the field. All of this is on the Department of Labor. There's not guessing, no one's holding that money from you. It's showing you the roadmap. But a lot of people want to come in because they see the flashy titles, which goes back to another conversation that we had, where we're doing a disservice by telling people the trades are cool, come in, you're going to get paid good. And then they're like, whoa, 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 I don't like what's going on. Why do I have to put up with this for 4 years? Instead of being transparent up front. So, what do I think electricians, what do I think plumbers, what do I think HVAC techs need to start doing? They need to ask themselves, hey, what type of life do I want? How much money do you want? Don't get distracted by this state or this union or this organization or this prevailing wage job is going to pay me 60 an hour, $60 an hour. I want that. Why don't I have it? And then you get bitter. But figure out, what do you have to do to earn that prevailing wage work? What do you have to do to earn that? How many years of schooling do I need to earn that type of money? What do I have to do to get my journeyman license? I feel like that's the core principle, what everybody should be doing, instead of coming in expecting everything all on day one.
Sure. And something I think about when I see or hear people say, oh, let me start that over for a clip. When people come in and say the reason apprentices are leaving is because of pay, my initial thought is, well, where are you going that makes more? All I hear is people leaving because of pay. Well, I would like to know, where are you going? And then people like to use the example of going to McDonald's, right? Or going to some fast food place and making a few dollars more. Oh, I can go to McDonald's and make, $5 more an hour. Are people really doing that? Do people really want to go and work at fast food for just a couple more dollars an hour? If they do, are they staying there? Is that really the career that you want to build? Is starting off in the kitchen at KFC and working your way up? Hey, I guess some people do that, but throwing that out there, like I've seen a lot of times, isn't solving anything. And I don't think it's actually true. What do you think?
Yeah. Yeah. Because where are they now talking about, oh man, I'm making so much more that I left the trades? Now, granted, is there somebody out there? Guarantee you there is. There's the unicorn out there who figured something out.
Yep.
But we're speaking for the majority of the people. Everybody sees the potential of what the blue collar trades, what skilled trades, electrical, plumbing, HVAC can do for you. And I think it goes back to understanding that roadmap. If you are told, hey, this is what you're going to start up with, but in 6 months you can get this, 12 months you can get that, 3 years you can earn this, 4 years you're here, 6 to 7 years, there's no limit. You decide what you want. Your own company, you decide if you're going to stay as a number one in a company, or are you going to start going into other avenues? Because now that you're licensed, now that you're have all this experience, you can go into educating. People don't understand you can go into inspecting. All of these different things are available for you if you get through that hump of 4 to 7 years. Electricians need to understand 4 to 7 years, you get to decide what you want. You don't have to be in the field. You can support the office. You can become an inspector. You can become an educator. Or even within electrical, let's say you do 4 years of residential. You can throw that away, shelve it, start in commercial. If you don't want to do commercial, you can go industrial. You can go low voltage. You can go smart systems. You can go renewable energy. There's so much available in electrical that if you are complacent, if you are stuck, if you're saying there's no value in what you're doing anymore, you're genuinely not trying your best. If you keep following people and just saying, hey, this is the way it is, this is just what you have to do, day in, day out, it's the same stuff, it's just a different day, then you're not going to make anything of the trade. And then you become one of those types of individuals who are just leaving the trade, who once loved the trade and then have nothing to show for it.
Yeah, and for some reason, leaving the field for many older people is looked down on. And all of us are getting older every day. And like you're pointing out, there's so many avenues you can go in electrical, right? Basically, all of us start out in the field, right? And then we progress, we move up, we get our journeyman license or become a foreman. Some of us become a contractor. And then at some point, sometimes one gets into education, one gets into being an inspector. Maybe some go into sales. We've met people at events that are managers at big companies, white collar, that spent years as an electrician. They got out of the field and they moved on to something else. And so the point is that there's so many opportunities that the electrical industry has to offer for us, but a lot of apprentices don't get to see that because when they enter the skilled trades, I think they come in immediately dealing with all the bull crap that comes with it, being new, being green, being an apprentice. And I know for me, being new, there's this feeling of not wanting to mess up so I don't get in big trouble or I don't get yelled at or fussed at or cost my boss money. And that's just one example I think that apprentices face is when they come in, they don't know what they're doing. They're trying to learn from their instructor. They're trying to learn from their journeyman. And apprentices are so afraid to make a mistake that they just clam up. They won't go out there and try as hard because they're so afraid if they screw up that they're gonna be in a big mess with whoever's over them. And so if you have that fear every day going into work, well, no wonder that apprentices are not finishing their program because they don't see it worth it. They don't see the opportunities. All they see is what they come to every day and the grumpy old guy giving them a hard time. I think that has a lot to do with our retention rate. And so that's why when people talk about labor shortages, technically, yes, there is a labor shortage, but why is there a labor shortage? It's not because of recruitment issues. I don't think. I think it's a retention issue. We have people leaving like crazy. We have 50 to 60% of apprentices not finishing, and therefore we have the labor shortage. So many guys just, it's the same thing. Oh, come in the trades, this and that and the other, trying to convince people. We have people lining up. They're not staying around. And that's something that we have to confront as leaders, as contractors in our businesses, because if we don't, then we're just going to keep seeing this get worse. And it's funny because we're the same guys that say, come join the skilled trades, but yet we're the reason why people are leaving the skilled trades. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And it always goes back to the scenario where Every great electrician was given an opportunity to become an electrician. There was times where people said, I couldn't find a job. And then their buddy said, hey, if you show up tomorrow, I'll give you work. And then you start trying it out. Then you start liking it. Then you can see yourself doing this long term. Or there's opportunities where somebody was in a tight situation. I need to make money. And someone allowed them on their job site and they got to see what working with their hands is all about. Then there's the group that never had good grades. They never had a great upbringing. And then they started working with their hands and they're like, oh, wow, I can create something. They see value to their skill. And next thing you know, they love what they're doing. There's so many electricians who had a great upbringing around the trades because it gave them a side of life that they never were comfortable with before. And now we're coming to a point where those individuals who learned the trade, who love the trade, who are now in their own business because of what the trade was able to give them, you always see everybody, I'm hiring 3 to 5 years experience, 3 to 5 years experience minimum, because they don't want to train somebody else, or they're not qualified to train someone else, or they're embarrassed to train someone else, or they feel like they're not going to be a good instructor. So what are we starting to see? We're starting to see a group of electricians who were given opportunities to become amazing electricians. But now when they're in the position to bring on the next generation, they're saying, no, I want someone 3 to 5. I can't tell you how many electricians we see online every day saying, I need 3 to 5 years experience. Nobody's willing to pick up somebody green. The very few who do see the value in training, see the value of the trades, and want to invest into their teams. But it's pretty not impressive. It's pretty sad to see that now that we're in the position to give someone that opportunity, no one's jumping on it. We're coming to a position where people are seeing that it's easier just to hire someone else for 3 to 5, but they're not telling you there's very limited people who have the years of experience with the journeyman license, right? With good leadership capacity. Those A players are very hard to come by. So if everyone's looking for 3 to 5 and no one's building them, no one's retaining them, we're eventually going to come into a bottleneck. And then the solo mom and pop shops who are just killers, they're going to do great because these guys are just hiring and they're becoming revolving doors. They're going to do so much work at just losing people, hiring people, because they're not trying to invest into people long term. And people always think in the terms of, what if I invest into my team? What if I train my team? What if I send them through the apprenticeship training and they leave me? The other way you should be thinking about this whole scenario is, what if you're an electrical contractor and you decide not to train your team and they stay? You see how you're going to lose either way. So the possibility of you losing someone after training them, it's a real possibility, especially in the trades. 3-4 years, it's a revolving door. But here's the thing, they won't forget you, and you will feel confident that you were able to give someone that opportunity. You don't lose ever by being the bigger person. You understand? And here's the caveat. If you train to your team, they don't want to leave you. They're leaving you, like what we said before, because they're not seeing the value of what the trade has to offer. They're leaving you because they don't want to work for you for low pay. But if you explain that process, if you show them what's possible, if you're investing into them, if you're communicating with them, now you have somebody for life. And guess what? You can show them the roadmap. You can have different ways of growing with them. And I'm not saying just to dangle that carrot in front of them, like, oh, hey, if you be a good boy, I'm going to give you a pizza party. Hey, if you be a good boy, I'm going to make you a working foreman. No, I'm talking about genuinely. The issue we have is the current generation of electricians don't know how to hold or communicate that value or communicate their needs. So basically, we're creating this revolving door that eventually is just going to lead to nowhere.
Yeah. So what you're saying is, when we see contractors throwing out the 3 to 5 year thing, I'm looking for a guy for 3 to 5 years experience. You think that most contractors, especially when they say something like that, the only thing they have on their mind is production. Would you agree? Like that's how
I
they're
would say
thinking.
yes, but just like what I said, maybe they don't feel comfortable in training.
Well, sure, yes, but production, getting stuff done in their mind is the driving force for making that kind of post or putting that out there 3 to 5 year experience. They either, well, we can't speak for everybody. We don't know what everyone's thinking, but they either A, don't want to train, B, that they don't feel confident in doing that, which means they don't want to train still. And or they just want to jump the gun. They think that 3 to 5 year guy is going to make the money right out of the gate. And we have seen that not happen more times than it actually works out for people. I know someone personally who hired a journeyman, a several year experience, I think more than 5 years experience, had a journeyman license, and he didn't know how to do most things in residential. And he had the license, but even then, bringing a journeyman on doesn't always mean that they know what they're doing, or maybe in a way that you want them to know or how to do things. And B, if they're actually going to satisfy you as far as how they do the work. You can have a guy who's very experienced electrician, but what if they don't come in doing it the way you want it? So many times we see, I want the 3 to 5 year guy. And I've even seen a contractor actually say this in a hiring post: I shouldn't have to babysit you. What person out there is going to read that and be like, oh, I definitely want to go work for that guy? Because you can already tell that the second that in the first week that they don't do something right, oh, you told me you know how to do this, you know how to do that. Well, it's not to the contractor standard, and it just becomes a huge disappointment, and they end up leaving. But dude, like, looking for that person, you're not going to find that person. Like you said, they're very hard to find. They're already taken. So what are you offering someone, that kind of person that you're looking for? What are you offering for them to actually leave their company that they're probably being taken care of at? That's why I have one employee that I've had for a little over a year now. He had a few months experience, but basically apprentice level still is. And if and when I make more hires in the future, that's what I'm looking for. I'm looking to train my own guys up. It does take more time. It's not the fastest way to do it. It's not the easiest way, but long term it pays off better. Will, I know you have several guys, and you've been in a little bit longer. Have you seen that work out for you as far as hiring apprentices more so than trying to just go and look for the 3 to 5 year guy?
Yeah, especially during the renewable jump over here we had in Connecticut. That's where I started the whole schooling idea from, in the sense where we built it up. We started the apprentice program in my own company, and we were able to help one of our employees get their license. So that's the purpose. And then when I say, oh man, if this worked for just me, imagine this at scale. So that's the reason why we jumped into these opportunities, because it only is going to help you. This is not going to make money overnight. This isn't going to solve every problem that you have, but you investing into your team in that capacity is what's going to help them feel wanted. They're going to feel appreciated. They're going to see this for something long term, and then you're going to be that solution. They're going to never want to leave you. But that only happens when you see what the trade has to offer. So that's why I always want to know, what are you working towards? What is it that you want out of the trade? How much money do you want to make? You understand? Once you start asking yourself these questions, then you can start narrowing it down. Because I want to have a conversation genuinely. If you're an electrician, tell me, how much money do you want to make? 20, 30, 40, 50 an hour? Tell me genuinely, what are you going to do now to earn it? You understand? Too many people are coming into the trade saying, I want $30 an hour. It's too hard to live out there. If you go to Target and you tell them you're demanding that pay, what are they going to say? If you go anywhere else asking for that pay without any background, what's anybody going to say? So when people, or Gen Z, or when electrician or apprentices come in saying, I want to make this, give it to me, or I'm going to leave the trades because I can't deal with the pay, then what's a good number for you to stay at? Let's say you tell your boss, hey, I'm going to leave unless I get 25 an hour. You understand now we're negotiating. And guess what? If you get the 25, now you're becoming or you're making this more superficial than what it is. Now, everyone can argue what's a livable wage, and we know that varies state for state. And you understand that there may be organizations or associations out there that they have their own tiered pay scale.
Mhm.
Then go there. But why is everyone going to start demonizing and saying it's just the pay when the majority of the industry is non-union or merit shop or open shop? And then they're doing fine and they're getting licenses and they're now doing the same type of work and or more. But at the end of the day, you have to make that decision, because if you just say it's a pay issue, if you just say it's a culture issue, if you just say I don't like this, I don't like that, and you keep that mindset, no matter where you go, you're going to have that same problem. True or not? You're just going to keep running into that same obstacle. If you jump one shop to the next shop for 50 cents more, if someone's dangling $1, you're going to leave them too. So at some point, you have to ask, is this a money problem or is this a personal problem? And for the most cases, individuals don't want to do work long term, just like people don't want to go to the gym long term, just like people don't want to date long term. We're in this environment where everybody wants everything now. But if you're not willing to put in 4 to 7 years, then why even bother becoming an electrician? If you're looking for pay, go somewhere else. They'll pay you more. If you're looking for a long term career, that's what electrical has to offer you. You understand it's recession proof, it's guaranteed money, it's guaranteed opportunities for growth. Everything you're ever going to need is handled. So if you're coming into the trades, make sure you have that long term vision.
That's really good. We see that everywhere we go, like you said. People want their reward now instead of delayed. Was it delayed gratification? Is that right? Right terminology? Yeah. We see that in all areas of this. We see it online. We see it in the workplace. We see it everywhere that people want things right now, or else they're going to dip. And it goes back to the first point that I brought up when we opened up this episode: is okay, the trades aren't giving you the pay you want. Where are you going to get the pay you want? I would like to know. You never hear the follow up on that, right? You never hear where they actually went to go get what they wanted and if they're actually there long term. So that's really good. Well, to close up this episode, because we're running out of time, the contractor that's listening to this, let's just say they have a shop of, I don't know, 5, 10, 15 guys. What can they do in their shop to improve the culture of the workplace, and specifically if they have apprentices, what can they do to better understand apprentices and how they can nurture that relationship better as a contractor?
So, as a contractor, you have to remember it's your responsibility to take care of your team. At the end of the day, you can't help them if you don't know what they want. You need to figure out their love language. To keep your girl, you got to talk to her, you got to take her on dates. To keep your team, you got to figure out what's motivating them. So, if you're an electrician, especially electrical contractor, you have to take initiative and talk to your team. You have to see what they're working towards. Are they looking for schooling? Are they looking for their own license? Remember, we understand if you help them get a license, they may leave. But understanding that if you are the person that's going to help them reach, by the simple fact of doing that and helping them, they're eventually not going to want to leave. That's the caveat. If you invest into them, they may leave. But if you invest into them, they won't leave, because they're now feeling that they're a part of a team, that they're feeling that part of an organization, someone's looking over them. But if you are stingy with your money, if you're stingy with communicating, if you're stingy with the culture of your company, they're looking for opportunities now to leave or to create something. We met so many contractors who say, I created my own company because I hated how my boss handled business. You understand, you have to take that initiative. No one's going to openly tell you what they want. Nobody likes to open that door. That's Pandora's box. So if you're an electrical contractor, take out time, go to have a one-on-one with them, take them out to lunch. If you're stuck on gas station food, go with them to the gas station, get them some drinks. You understand? If you want to go eat, go get them some food. There's so many individuals who are taking time and energy out of their day just to make sure they understand what their teams need. Go do that, figure out what they need. Once you figure that, build that roadmap out with each one of your team members, and I'll guarantee you, you're going to blow up because everybody now is working together for the same goal. If they understand if you need XYZ done, but then you can do ABC for them, now everyone's working in unison instead of just same stuff, different day. Oh, I'm just here to work from the neck down. You have to take initiative when it comes to your own team.
All right, guys. Appreciate y'all tuning in and show some love to an apprentice today. Y'all stay safe.